This is an aftermarket main shaft for a Dodge NV4500 four-wheel drive transmission. It has some changes to it compared to the factory one, and one of the changes is this groove right here, and it has to do with the way fifth gear is retained onto the shaft. And so it also comes with these components here. So I was a little curious how this all fit together, so I did a mock-up of fifth gear only, just with those parts, and I'll show you what I came up with. So here's fifth gear on the shaft, and those split washers. And then there's a retaining ring to hold those split washers together. So that's how I did my initial test, or like a test fit. And then also there's a thrust washer that goes on the top, and then there's a lock nut that gets torqued down up here. So I just simulated what would happen if it was all tightened down. So I just held it down with my hand like this, and I noticed fifth gear would rattle around. Well, that was kind of odd. So I did some investigating, and I called the company where I bought the shaft, and the lady there, she asked me, is the bearing installed? And I said no. And then it kind of started to make sense to me. Okay, well, actually I haven't got this thing, completely assembled. This is the bearing that was on the transmission when I initially took it apart. So I won't be reusing this bearing for final assembly, especially now since I took the bearing outside and I honed it out bigger. It's no longer a press fit. It actually just fits loose on the shaft now. This is the tool that I was using. It's a Makita die grinder with a flapper wheel on it. So the used bearing is no longer a press fit. So it's just for mock-up, and it's obviously it still is not going to take up the slack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mock fit with the rest of the components from here up, and then I'll see what that does. So after a partial assembly mock-up here to test the fifth gear retention, now it seems to be on there snug. So I've just got this lock nut just hand tight, and I can't move fifth gear anymore. So the bearing is in place, and this thrust washer. Okay, so even if I had just installed the thrust washer and the temporary slip-on bearing, fifth gear, and the two half split washers, even at this point already, fifth gear starts to feel rigid in there, just from the split washers. From there, the retaining washer for the split ones, and then another thrust washer. So, and then from here it gets a lock nut, and it actually gets torqued down. So even just with these two split washers on there, it fits snug enough that fifth gear seems fairly rigid in there. I can rock it very slightly. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. Anyways guys, thanks for checking out another video.